Who was she?
No one knows what happened.
Something was off with her
What
from the
happened
start.
that night?
She was all alone.
She knew what she was doing.
Violent.
Who does something like that?
We'll never
Why
know what
everyone
happened.
is so obsessed.
No one does something like
She
that.
was insane.
She was human. Just like the rest of us. I think people forget that a lot. Everyone was so quick to judge and make their own assumptions that they never really listened. I think it's time that changed. I knew Theodora better than most. After everything that happened, I was the one who she spoke to, who she confided in. Now, the media are going to twist this story to try and paint her as some evil villain, but that's not who she is.
The only two people who were in that room who know what happened, well, they can't tell their side of the story. Theodora Hill, a young woman, took her first job as a nanny for the Bly children. In such an isolated house, it's no wonder things went as bad as they did.
My name is Jonathan Nathaniel Bly. I am the chair of the board of directors at Bly, Crane and Associates, a firm that my family has been a part of since the turn of the 20th century. My family bought what would become Bly Manor in the early 2000s. Renovation work alone cost a fortune, but the bonus that year covered it. My brother and his wife passed away shortly before the whole affair, hence the hiring of Miss Hill as a nanny for the children. They were lovely people, killed in a boating accident off the coast of France. Theodora was the children's second nanny, after the first left the job unexpectedly.
My name is Mary Hill. Theo was my sister. We grew up in a small town just outside of Winchester. I think in situations like this, people like to invent reasons as to why it might have happened. Childhood trauma is a term I hear thrown about quite a lot, but the thing is, we didn't have any particular traumatic events as children. We had hard times just like everyone else, but nothing like that.
I hired Theodora Hill in the early spring of 2015. She seemed a suitable candidate for the position. I wasn't looking for someone with years of experience because I'm a believer in affording opportunities to those without experience. Without taking risks, we can never reap reward. That's what my father would say. I left the children in her care, sent them to the manor, a suitable place for them for the summer, and returned to working in London.
I remember the day she went for the interview for that job. She was so excited, so nervous too. Kept saying how she would never in a million years get it. We'd talk every day, she'd send me pictures of the house and the grounds, and it just looked like something you'd see out of a storybook. It was beautiful.
She gave me her diaries just before she disappeared, and she made me promise to not show them until the time was right. Now, when you hear day and night about people saying what was going on inside her head, it's hard not to think that now is the right time. Now is the right time.
This is my first entry. My name is Theodora Hill. I've just started working as the nanny for the Bly family. Yes, that Bly family. Oh. I suppose I should be scared, intimidated by their wealth or who they are, I mean. But there's something about him, Mr. Bly. He just has this way about him, like he has everything perfectly in control and nothing could ever go wrong around him. Anyway, I'm recording these video diary type things to document everything I do whilst I'm here, which should be a lot if I can just calm down my nerves a bit. I just can't believe I'm here. I mean, look at this place. I swear there's about 50 bedrooms. Not sure about the decorations though. Not exactly modern. Well, I suppose it is to a person from the 1800s. I've only met one of the children I'm supposed to be looking after. Flora. She's so lovely. She's like a little fairy. Although she does think she knows better than me at times. I mean, she probably does, considering her schooling. I'm pretty sure she's guaranteed a place at Oxbridge just because of who her family are. Oh, I wish I was that lucky. Oh, also, I met the housekeeper, Mrs. Gross. She's been looking after Flora until I got here. She's so lovely. She's been walking me through everything and has been so nice to me. It's nice to have a friendly face. She's the only friend I've made here so far. But I'm sure I just need to try a little bit harder with the rest of the staff. They don't seem to really like me, I don't think. Either way, this job will definitely be easier than I thought if Flora's brother is anything like her. He's still at school, but due back soon. I don't really know what to do, actually. A letter came from Mr. Bly about him yesterday. I don't think he'd even read it, but it said the school wouldn't be accepting him back next term. A super posh boarding school like that, where Mr. Bly probably contributes millions every year in donations to them, and they won't have him back. I don't know what to say. I think I'll just leave it. There's no point bothering Mr. Bly with it, and I'm sure Miles was just messing around. It'll get sorted. I wonder if he's any different from his sister. Oh. Looks like I have to go. They have some weird system that the lights go out not long after the children go to bed. Earlier bedtimes than I'm used to. But I'm not complaining. Alright, bye!
She wasn't one of the locals. What I mean is she was new. None of us knew her. She seemed nice enough, but all we knew she'd gone to some private school or other. Even if she didn't say. She thought she was above us.
I'm Mrs. Gross, housekeeper at Bly Manor. I met Theo on her very first day with us. She was a really sweet girl, smiling all the way up to the house. And when she introduced herself to us, she introduced herself to Flora first, which I think is how you really know that somebody's in it for the children. Yeah, the two of us became fast friends. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times we'd sit in the kitchens, having a cup of tea, talking about, you know, this, that and the other. The letter from the school is what started it. It essentially said that Miles could never return, but it didn't state why. And Mr. Bly had told Theo not to bother him, and bless her, I think she was a bit smitten with him. So I think him saying, you know, don't bother me, to her meant deal with this yourself.
Theodora had a bond with Miles. I mean, all the staff could see it, and they became incredibly close during that summer.
So, Miles has now arrived, and I've been schooling and caring for both of the children for just over a couple of weeks now. Miles is... well... he is strange, but so well behaved. He's really intelligent. I feel like I can talk to him about more adult things than I can my own sister. He has an old soul, but he's so young. It's like talking to an old man. Every conversation is long, his responses seem measured, and he knows exactly what to say to confuse me even further. Something's been on my mind for a few days now. It's stupid. Well, I don't know what it is. It could just be me being silly, Basically, the other day I was walking around the grounds. The children had gone to bed, and it was that hour or so I get each day before I have to go to sleep where I can do whatever I want. So most days I go out and sit in the gardens with a book or just watch the night sky. I was just sitting on a bench near the lake facing the house. It's so beautiful. Especially now with the warm summer nights. When the sunlight hits the windows, it's almost like you can feel it smiling at you. I closed my eyes to take it in. And then after it passed, I opened them and looked up at the tower. And there was someone there, standing on the tower, staring down at me. He stood there and I stood up. I felt rooted to the spot. And then he was gone. It looked like he went behind a stone on the wall. But he couldn't have, because there was nowhere for him to go. I went up there. I checked myself. I'd have seen him leave. That person, that figure, it was impossible. But here I am, going over it again and again. It's so stupid. Maybe it was just a trick of the light on my mind. It was probably one of the contractors looking at the roof. This place is constantly getting renovated. But then why did it feel like he was looking back at me as I looked at him?
I mean, you hear these things, you read the mountains of psychological evaluations, court proceedings, all that. And now we have these diaries. We can see exactly how she was feeling. We never had this before.
I've been here for over 2 months now. I don't know what's happening. I keep seeing this man. The man from the tower. I know it was him. I saw him. His face at the window. He looked so pale and his eyes were sunken in, but he looked around with such sharp and malicious intent. And I collapsed when I saw him. I'm losing it, I must be. Thank God I have Mrs. Gross. She said the man I've been seeing, from what I've been telling her, looks like one of Mr. Bly's old friends. Peter Quint, I think she said. She seemed really weird afterwards. I barely saw her for the rest of the day. I really don't think Mr. Bly would associate himself with some weirdo who lurks about in the bushes outside of his house. The last time I saw him, I was in the dining room, and he stood right outside the window. His face was so close it could have pressed up against the glass. He was gone not long after I saw him. It almost looked like he was searching for something. Like something he'd lost when he looked at me. It was like he looked straight through me. Like I wasn't even there. I screamed so loud I nearly gave poor Mrs. Gross a heart attack. I don't understand it. No one else has seen him. The security cameras are either facing the wrong way whenever he's there, or they just don't see him either. But I know what I saw. He was there. Just like I'm sitting here right now, he was there.
Peter Quint had a certain look, I suppose. He looked and behaved nothing like anyone in the village. So it had to be him, you know. I just knew it had to be. You don't forget someone as evil as that for a long time.
That's when the other texts began, about the things she was seeing or hearing, the figures in the halls or on the grounds watching her.
Quint is dead. Quint is dead. I looked it up after she told me. Peter Quint, 32, was found dead this morning at the bottom of Briars Hill Path, police have said. Mr. Quint visited the village's local pub, the Brass Hare, the night before. He became intoxicated and sustained a fatal head injury on the journey home. Police are not treating the incident as suspicious, but witnesses reported Mr. Quint was involved in a number of arguments with local residents, particularly on the night of his death. Mrs. Gross told me what he was like, and how he died, and how I described him. I'd never heard of this man before, let alone seen his face. But now I have, and he's still here. How did I see him? How is he here? How? Something is still in this house. Miles isn't exactly calming my nerves either. It's like he knows what I'm seeing. I can't explain it. The way he looks at me. When I talk to Mrs. Groats, he just stares at me. I can feel that stare. But when I look at him, he just smiles and walks away. What does he know? Does Flora know too? They're still making me sleep when the children do. But I barely get any rest. I hear footsteps every night. Whispered conversations just outside my door. Like someone is patrolling the halls, searching and searching and searching. When the lights go out in my room, it's like I see someone standing there in the corner, watching me. My eyes try and adjust to the dark, and it's like I can see an outline watching me. But I can't move. I just stare back. I don't know what to do. And then last night, I got up out of bed and listened for the footsteps and the whispers. I got up right next to the door and pressed against it. It carried on until I touched the door handle to open it. Then it went silent. Like the house knew. Like something or someone knew I was there. I'm taking Flora to the lake tomorrow. I can only pray I get some sleep tonight. Something tells me I won't.
I don't like to speak ill of the dead. But he was a horrible man. But according to Theo, he was back somehow. And he kept appearing. According to her, he was looking for something, looking for Miles.
In the days before, I remember she seemed almost manic. Honestly, I don't think she slept. I always heard things from her room, her talking or moving or things like that. One night I got up and she was walking around the halls just looking for something or someone, maybe. Seemed like she was waiting for someone, but not in a good way. Like she was so scared about not seeing a person that to see them would have been a relief.
There was a woman at the lake. Me and Flora sat on the grass by the lake. I was reading her a poem and she sat making daisy chains. We were just about to have lunch and I looked up across the lake in a clearing. The sun was bright and shining, but standing just in the cover of the trees. This figure, almost a silhouette. This woman dressed in black nightie. She had long black hair that fell down to her chest. Pale, veiny skin. She was so thin and uncomfortable to look at, and her eyes were so dark. I could barely see them. I wanted to look away, but it felt like I couldn't, like I was being forced to look at her. Both of us didn't move. It felt like for so long. When I could finally think, I started to worry about Flora. Surely she was scared senseless, like I was. Flora had been sitting in front of me, facing out towards the lake, facing the other side, but as I finally managed to look down at her, she was facing me. She hadn't faced me the entire time we were there, and now she was. I thought she maybe already seen her, like she thought it was a horrible woman who'd gotten lost and looked away, so I grabbed her and ran back as fast as I could. I collapsed as soon as we were inside, and I just broke down. And I talked to Mrs. Gross, and she said, I told her what the woman looked like, told her how I felt looking at her. She had the same reaction as when I told her about Quint. Who I described, the long black hair, how thin she was in her eyes. She said it sounded like I was describing the girl who used to have my job, Miss Jessel or something. How could I have known her? What she looked like? Because she's dead too. I'm so scared.
Elizabeth Jessel was the children's first nanny. She worked there months before Theodora arrived. Reports seem to state that she was entangled with Peter Quint. The exact nature of their relationship is unclear, but what we do know is that 6 months before Theodora arrives, she sadly takes her own life. This is weeks before Quint's passing.
Something is wrong with these children. Something is trying to get to them, to take them away from me. Quint and Jessel. I can feel them reaching out for the children. The other night I went to check on them. Miles was gone and Flora was looking out of the window, waving to someone. I went over and there was Miles out on the lawn, in the middle of the grounds. He was just staring up at the tower. Right where Quint was the first time. I ran out. I don't even know how he got outside. I swear the doors were all locked, and it's not exactly like a 10-year-old can burglar his way through the military-grade security. I ran to him and grabbed him. I didn't even stop. I just grabbed him and ran us both back inside of the house. I put him down and just screamed at him, asking him what he was doing, why he was there. After I'd stopped, he just stared at me, like he always does, and just said, "To show you I could be bad." Then he walked off and left me there, went up to bed and said nothing else to me. I mean, what does that even mean? Is this what he did at school? Messing with the teachers just to say things like, "I know I'm super nice most of the time, but I've broken a window and I've proved I can be bad." What does it mean? Did Quint and Jessel have something to do with it? Are they already part of him? Mrs. Gross told me such awful things about him. What he did to Jessel and how she died, in so much pain and anger. I just feel sorry for her, to be forever tied to him. Listen to me. I'm talking like they're still here. They're dead. I saw their graves. No, they're still here. But how? What are they trying to do? All I know for certain right now is something is happening in this house. Flora is still here, but Miles... I don't know anymore.
I was with her when Flora turned on her. She and Miles had been working in the study and I just popped my head in. It was such a lovely sight, to see them working together. But I realised that Flora was nowhere to be found. And we ran all over the manor. I mean, we searched every single room. I mean, I was desperate to find her. I mean, what if, Miss Jessel had found her? But Theo, she was just calm. Calmer than I'd seen her in months. And I remember her saying, "They must be by the lake." So, we ran down there together and sure enough, there was Flora. And I just remember Theo screaming. Just screaming, "You see her! You see her!" But there was nothing there. It was just the three of us. When we reached Flora, it was like she'd changed somehow. she yelled at Theo, screamed at her, told her how she hated her. She was kicking, punching. I'd never seen her behave like that before. I mean, the language that she used, I still don't know where she got that from. Perhaps one of the house staff or something, I don't know, but we decided it would be best for her to go to her uncle's.
I received an unexpected visit from Mrs. Gross. The day of the incident, she and Flora, my brother's other child, they came in a rush. The housekeeper spouting all sorts of nonsense about something having taken over the children and having to get miles away from the house.
I don't know what entry this is. I don't even know what day it is. But I do know this will be my last. Flora is gone. I've sent her and Mrs. Gross away from the house. I say sent her. A couple of days ago she went missing. I couldn't find her anywhere in the house, neither could anyone, so we searched the grounds. But I knew she'd be at the lake. That's where I saw Jessel, across the lake, so she had to be there. The boat was missing too. So I waded across and found her where Jessel had been, sat in that clearing. Mrs. Gross got over there eventually, and then Jessel appeared again. Not far from us. I thought if Mrs. Gross could see her, then I was right. Then everything would be okay. She didn't. Neither did Flora. Then Flora went into a fit of something, just screaming how much she hated me, saying such vile words she had no way of knowing unless it came from Jessel. And that's what it was. Jessel knows I'm protecting them, just as Quint does. She knows I wanted Flora to go away from here, so she had one last attempt to turn against me. So Flora's gone. Mrs. Gross left this morning with her. Most of the staff avoid me now. They've heard what I'm doing and what I've been saying. It's just me and Miles. Tonight I have to get through to him. Quint does not have him. He is mine. My child. I will protect him. I will protect him.
Seeing her like that, the fear and sadness in her, it's awful.
Most of us were starting to go to bed when there was this huge crashing sound, so loud it woke all of us up. Bearing in mind the staff quarters are almost completely on the other side of the manor, it takes a lot for that kind of thing to get over to us. We didn't know what was going on. I mean, most of us thought maybe some of the renovations had fallen in or a part of the roof had collapsed in the storms, so we split up to check on it. I remember seeing someone ahead of me in the corridor leading up to the dining room, but when I looked back, they were gone. Everyone was so scared. I mean, so much had happened that night, it's hard to remember everything. The main door to the dining room was locked and we could hear the crashing sounds and some kind of shouting or whispering. We tried all the other doors, but none of them would open. I didn't even think some of them had locks, or at least not ones we had keys for. Then it got quiet, like dead silent. The sounds all stopped at once and the storm died just at the same time. We all went silent too, like we were bracing ourselves for what might happen. It felt like it lasted for ages. The only thing I could hear was the rain hitting the old slate roof and our breathing in the darkness. Then there was the most awful scream I have ever heard. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I can still hear it. It pierced right through you, like the first rush of wind you get stepping out of the house on a cold night. It stung deep and made my whole body just shake. I've never felt so scared as in that moment. A couple of guys broke down the door after that, and there was Miles on the floor. Theo was not far away from him, just sobbing. We all just stopped because I think we knew before we even got to him.
This is Detective Nyman conducting an interview with Flora Bly. It is currently 8:16 a.m, October 18th, 2015. Flora, I know you're tired, but can you tell me about your nanny? What's she like? Is she nice?
No.
Why not? Why did you go to your uncle's?
I was bad.
Bad?
I shouted at Miss.
Why did you shout, Flora?
She scares me.
What makes you afraid of her? What was she like with Miles? Did she scare him? Flora, love, I know you're scared of her, but she's not here now. I need your help to be brave. Can you tell me why she scares you? Please.
She keeps shouting at us. She says she sees people we don't see. I got annoyed at her because she wouldn't let me play by the lake. It wasn't fair. I'm sorry. I have been very rude to her lately. I really would like to say sorry to her. And Miles, I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to him before we left.
It'll be okay, Flora. They understand. Do your nanny and Miles get on well?
She's very mean sometimes. She shouts things about how we're hers and not theirs. She says they're trying to take us, but she won't let them.
Who does she mean? Who are they?
I don't know, but she says they're evil and wants us for themselves. I think she's trying to help, but she gets so angry.
Miles may not have been my son, but he was family, and having to organise a child's funeral was incredibly painful, and something I would happily go the rest of my life without repeating.
If I'd known it was worse than I thought, I would have gone down there, brought her home, wrapped her up in every blanket our house had and told her it was going to be okay. I'm here. But I don't get that luxury. Who knows where she is now?
I left the Bly's employ shortly after the trial concluded. And I had maintained contact with Theo during that time, but after the trial finished, she went missing, as you know. Yeah, she was completely different after that night. It's like she died with him, you know. I still write to her every day. You know, I say, hello, how are you? I love you and I miss you. And if you ever want, you know, anything, even just a cup of tea and a catch up, I'm here, you know. Theo, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I just want you to know that I let you down. None of this was your fault, and I let you down, and I'm sorry. I just need you to know that, okay? I'm sorry. Can we cut?
If anything happens to me, tell people what happened. Tell them I tried. This is bigger than me. Whatever is going on here will not stop with just me. Eleanor, I really wish you were here right now. I miss you, and I can't thank you enough for being with me through all this. I love you, Mum and Dad. I love you, Em. I didn't mean what I said to you. I always just wanted to be like you. I just always let everyone down. I lied to you. I do need people. I need help right now, and there's nothing here for me. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. I have to go.
Thank you, Flora. You've been very brave today. I bet you're ready to go home. What are you drawing?
Yes, I have had quite enough of adventuring. I'm drawing our big house. There's me and Miles playing together. There is our Nanny and Mrs. Gross talking together like they always do. And there's the gardens. Do you like it?
It's lovely. But who's this? Flora? Flora, who's that other person in your drawing?
That's the sad lady.
Who? Your nanny?
No. The girl who cries all the time. She's always by the lake. I go and visit her sometimes. But she never stays very long.
I think we'll end this interview there. Interview concluded at 8:33 a.m.
We don't know what happened in that room. I don't think we'll ever know. Most of the staff are absolutely convinced there was no one else in that room. And even with all this technology, all this security, we've all still got questions that we don't know the answers to. The diary entries begin to answer some of them. It certainly shows what Theodora wants us to believe was happening, but it doesn't prove anything. Certainly not. Not to me, at least.
This is a tragic story that doesn't have an end. And that's the worst part about this. We're never going to know exactly what happened.